promised land in the palm of my hand. Bad little flex wanna play by the coast. Carry the torch, I'm way up, it's litty wherever we float. I came from the cold, used to rest on the floor and stitch up my wounds, was born a soldier. Flipping the struggle, I'm taking it worldwide. Hold it down when you talk to me. Say it is what it's supposed to be. Say it loud, but I mean it too, yeah. Talk that good when you talk to me. Say it nice and I give it to you. You know my word is bond, yeah. What we on now is wild, shit a trip, yeah. Life is lit, take a breath, that's it. Now it's wild, this shit a trip. Life is litty, shit a gift, bitch I'm him. I don't really lack nothing. Drip blackfish, hit the splash button. Niggas landlocked, too bad for them. And they liable to talk, but it's mad rubbish. It don't mean nothing. From the soil, trying to make it to the top floor. But the penthouse, pin game, something mad, yes, bros. No sleeping, been a task grabbing. Been a lab back, play by the coast. Carry the torch, I'm way up, it's litty wherever we float. I came from the cold, used to rest on the floor and stitch up my wounds, was born a soldier. Flipping the struggle, I'm taking it worldwide. Hold it down when you talk to me. Say it is what it's supposed to be. Say it loud, but I mean it too, yeah. Talk that good when you talk to me. Say it nice and I give it to you. You know my word is...
Welcome to Dinner with the Coaches. I am one of the hosts, Nadira Lewis, and I have my awesome coach over here, visionary Coach Thomas Taylor III. Woo!
Good evening. Woo! Yeah.
Good evening, Coach.
That's what I'm talking about. Simply marvelous. Better than good and better than most. And sometimes even better than that. As my good friend, Mr. Les Brown would say.
Awesome. Guys, we have an amazing broadcast lined up for you this evening. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you click the subscribe button, hit the notification button so that you can be notified every time we upload a new video. If you are watching us via Facebook, make sure you click like and share, and make sure you let us know how much Dinner with the Coaches has been blessing you. So, Coach T,
how you doing?
I'm so excited. I mean, every time we get ready to start our broadcast, I'm always excited because of the fact that, you know, not only we're just here just to be able to help people, but we have a lot of fun. You know, we have a lot of fun and we're impacting people's lives. We're bringing value to everybody that's listening. And it's just amazing. I love it. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. So talk to us today talk to our audience and let them know about our guest that we're going to have on tonight. He's not definitely a newbie, but he has been here before. So tell the audience about our guest and what should they expect.
All right. Well, good evening. I want to say thanks again for spending your evening with Nadira and myself. We're dealing with the coaches. We really appreciate your time because we know time is very precious.
Yes.
Well, this is a good friend of mine, Mr. Eric Keese. He's been here before earlier, you know, when we started the show, but he's back by popular demand, and he has a real estate company called Living Gigantic Real Estate. Right, he's doing phenomenal. He's actually doing classes himself. Like he petitioned, put his paperwork in for the state, and they actually, you know, okayed it and certified him. So he's actually doing real estate courses for those that are interested in that Georgia area. So tonight, what we're going to talk about is how to be persistent and overcome distractions. Now, his story is phenomenal. He's overcame a whole lot of different distractions to get to this point. So I'm just interested to share some of that with our audience.
Awesome. Well, guys, you heard it from the coach himself, visionary Coach Thomas. We're going to go ahead after this video. We're going to play this video, and the next face you will see among our awesome panel will be that of Eric Keese. And we are back here with our amazing coaches, Coach Thomas Taylor III, and our special guest, Eric Keese. Welcome to Dinner with the Coaches.
Man, thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here. I certainly appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all, spend the evening with dinner with the coaches, talk around the table, if you will. Man, this is such an amazing event. Thank you all for all that you all do. I mean, you all do an amazing, amazing job, and I am so appreciative just to be one in the number with two amazing, amazing coaches who are truly touching and changing lives.
Thank you.
Awesome, man. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time out. I know you are a busy man, from pillar to post. You know what I mean?
Hey, man, never too busy for you, brother. Never too busy.
Hey, I appreciate it. I'm humbly honored. So, E, we kind of gave a little introduction about your Living Gigantic School. You do continuing education courses for anybody in that metro, Atlanta area. But what I want to get into this evening is, and I know part of your stories, I kind of really want you to share with our listening audience, and we're going to talk about how to be persistent and overcome distraction. So I'm just gonna set the foundation just for our listening audience about Eric. Now he's a gentle, humble giant, right? But I watched this brother for 2 years go back and forth to South Carolina to take care of his father, right? In the midst of building a brand new business, day after day, week after week, up there in Pendleton, South Carolina, on the farm, taking care of his father until his father passed away last year. But this brother, he did that, no complaining, still built a business while dealing with all different types of adversity. His family's back here in Georgia, but he felt the responsibility to make sure that he was there for his father, even when his father was going through certain things with his health, he was still there. So I know this brother is one who really understands how to be persistent and overcome distractions. Eric?
Man, thank you for that, man. You never know who's watching. Thank you so much for that, man. You almost made me cry there for a second, bro.
Yeah.
But thank you for that. Appreciate it so much, man. It's sometimes we don't understand that our pain is our growth, right? And so a lot of people, we start going through stuff, and stuff starts happening to us, and we think that it's meant to take us out. But hey man, you know where I'm from, so I'm gonna go there all night tonight, right? But on the farm, like the thing that made our crops grow so fast and so wonderful and so amazing and perfect was chicken mess. It was the best fertilizer on the planet, right? So we would spread chicken mess all over our farm and all over our gardens, and the gardens would just take off. I mean, they would just go just amazing growth. And so when I learned to embrace the concepts of the farm, I looked at the analogy of spreading chicken mess on my life, right? So a lot of us, when we see we're going through a lot of mess and a lot of poop seems to be coming on us, it's not meant to take us out. It's not meant to make us stink. It's not meant to make us, full of crap, if you will. It's truly meant to make us grow stronger and build our character. And so what those 2 years were for me, where obviously when I was in it, I didn't think so. But in the midst of it, in the midst of the storm, you just do what you got to do, especially if you have a passion for the person and a passion for what you're doing. So I think the very first thing that people need to understand is they have to get their passion right. You have to get your passion in the right place. You have to understand that if you don't do it, it's not going to be done, because Thomas's passion is not Eric's passion, is not Nadira's passion. It's your passion. And no matter how much we come together and try to grow each other's passion, it's still my purpose and my passion that God ordained me to birth and bring to fruition. So even in the middle of your mess and your trials and tribulations, you still have to birth your own passion and purpose. And the world doesn't care. Let me say that one more time, because for the people in the back.
Yeah.
The world does not care about your issues. It doesn't care what you're going through. As a matter of fact, it prefers you to be going through issues, because in order for you to go and grow to that next level, you have to go through it to get to it.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So when you talk about passion, Eric, is your passion equivalent to your why? And if that's true, that's a true statement. Like what was your why to be persistent enough to constantly show up though? See, that's not an average person, right? Like I want everybody to understand that, right? Because average people find any excuse not to. Okay, right. So right out the gate, you can see that you're an above average individual. Okay, so if that's tied to your why, what kept fueling you to be there? Now, I want you to touch on a little bit of you and your father's relationship, so people can really understand the complexity of what you're really talking about.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. You're gonna make me go there, Angie. You're gonna make me talk about it. No. Thank you for that. Thomas really does know the back end story. So to answer your first question, does your passion and your why equal the same thing? Sometimes it's one in and of the same, sometimes it's not. So sometimes your passion, like my passion is to help educate people. My why is my family.
Okay.
So they are different, but they're fueled by the same source, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes the passion is the same as your why. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes, but each one of us has to figure out what's going to make us get up in the morning and go.
Yeah.
Because there are many mornings, and trust and believe, to kind of give a backstory. My father had failing kidneys, but he also had dementia. And so when he developed full-blown dementia, it was such a hard journey. I mean, just hard journey. I commend anyone, number one, who's a caregiver, and number two, who's going through that disease, because that disease is brutal. It's a very hard disease to deal with, on top of other diseases that he had with the renal failure. So to give the story that Thomas wants y'all to hear about. So growing up, me and my father didn't have the best relationship. And because he was so demanding of me, he wanted perfection, and I didn't want to be perfect. And so there was a constant clash in that he just kept demanding and demanding and demanding more of me, and I just really didn't want to be that person. However, just like I said before, sometimes your pain fuels you. So in that pain, he fueled me to want to get off the farm and away from him. And so I grew up on a 100-acre farm in South Carolina. And so I really wanted to get away from him and the farm. I am 6 feet 9 inches tall. And I was extremely, extremely athletic. But above athleticism and above height, I was free labor for the farm. So my dad was like, you ain't playing them games, you're going to work this farm, which made me even more mad, right? So I said, well, what's my options? And he said, well, if you have homework, that's your option. So pain fueled me getting my schoolwork. And as a result, I was extremely blessed and fortunate to graduate with a 3.9 grade point average, went to Clemson University, full academic ride, stayed on campus because I had to I was leaving that farm. I was getting away from that farm. I was out of there. And I spent my entire life running from that farm. Y'all listen to me. If you're listening to this broadcast, please, 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 if you don't hear anything else I say right now, please listen to what I'm saying right now. It was a coach that helped me get past my mess. And it is still a coach that is still continues to help me get past my mess. So if you don't have a coach in your life, listen, the absolute best players on the planet have coaches. Get a coach. Invest in yourself. Invest in yourself and in a coach. So it was a coach who helped me to see that I was running. I was spending my entire life running from the farm. And so I had a conversation with the coach, learned that it wasn't necessarily about me running from the farm. It was always about me actually embracing the concepts that I learned on that farm that truly can take me further than most people can go. And once I really started to embrace those concepts, my dad and I still didn't have the best relationship. We still were not on the best of terms. We had our man moment, and that's when we started bonding a little bit. But I look at it from the standpoint of God put me in the place with the person I was running from my entire life for both of us to heal and to grow our character in such a way that we can move to the next level. And after he passed is when things started I started attracting things in my life that really has helped me to change and to grow. But those 2 years, you have to understand, were predicated by 43 years of us, butting heads and not being on the best of terms, to the point where we actually became best friends. I mean, just absolute best friends, even when I wasn't there at the house, because, my brother, my sister, all of us started rotating. But even when I wasn't at the house, he still would call and ask and, talk to and call and call and call.
but so much so he gave specific instructions.
Yeah.
Even in his death.
Yeah. So his specific request for us siblings was he only wanted me to speak at his funeral. Yeah. So his request was he only wanted me speaking at his funeral. He said, I want you speaking the words over me. And you can't say this in many settings. I'll say it now because I'm not worried about people's opinion. But so much so that he came to me in a dream the night before his funeral, his actual funeral, and just talked to me and told me what he wanted me to speak about. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Now you see why I want to have him on tonight when we talk about persistence and overcoming distractions and still be able to push forward and create a company that's growing by leaps and bounds. Because you really have to understand what Eric is saying, because he was obedient, right? He was obedient to that cause that stretched him, that pulled him past the capacity that he thought he was capable of going because his emotional ties.
Yeah.
On the other side of that, he was blessed, and he continues to be blessed based upon his obedience, right? So sometimes when we're going through, like Eric talked about mess, right? We're going through, we can't see the other side, right? So on this evening, we just want to keep everybody encouraged to let you know that there is another side, right? And Eric is living proof of that based upon his story. Now we all have our stories, but tonight we want to highlight Eric's story because it permeates persistence. It permeates overcoming distractions. Why? Because Eric could have gave up at any time. He could have just folded his company. He could have just stopped. Right? Now, mind you, that was his only source of income at the time.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
So that's deep. Now he has a wife, she's working, she's doing her thing, right? But I'm just talking about Eric this evening, right? That was his contribution. But he was obedient to that clarion call. Miss Nadira?
Wow. The interesting thing about distraction is the fact that most of the time we don't even realize that there is a distraction, right? And so you have good and bad distractions. So I think what happens is when you can identify, and part of identifying is really getting focused on what it is that you're supposed to be doing. When you are focused, you can see things that are clearly a distraction. And you might say, well, how do you actually see if it's a distraction? Well, focus does that. When you're focused on whatever it is that you're doing in that moment, in that season, in that lifetime, you'll begin to look up and see, okay, this is hindering me from making progress, right, towards the direction that I'm supposed to go. So I think when you identify, most of the time we're looking at, oh, I feel distracted or things that's not going the way I want to. A lot of the times it's because you have allowed your focus to be shifted, right? Because of something good or bad that came in, because that's really what distraction is. It's taking you off of course, taking you off of direction, taking you off of course of where you're supposed to go, right? So I think when you realize that, wait a minute, I'm going in the opposite direction of that I'm supposed to be going, that means something is something. There's a roadblock set up. There's a distraction here. And that's when you have to identify and say, okay, what's really going on? What's stagnating me and causing me not to move? And when you're able to do that, then you can be able to get back, because you can be passionate. You can know your whys. You can know what it is. You can have clarity, but that doesn't stop distractions from coming because you have clarity. It doesn't stop distractions from coming because you're passionate. You can have all of those things and still that one thing, your focus can be shifted off of that one thing that causes you to, which the ultimate goal is to get you out of
Yeah. I think that to kind of piggyback on exactly what you're saying, Coach Lewis, my coach actually calls it monkeys. So the monkeys are how the monkeys messing with you. And so, you'll monkey around, and it can come in so many different ways, just like you said. It can come from even in passion and purpose and drive and perseverance and everything else. We are still who we are, and we still have our baggage that we don't understand that we have. And so until you get to a place of growth where you can be open enough to understand who you truly are and the things that really take you off course, you need an outside entity to touch base to you to say, hey, listen, my coach said this morning, hey, listen, the monkeys are taking you off task here. Let's tweak this just a little bit, because I was talking about putting something off a couple weeks that really is necessary today. And it's easy to justify it. It's easily justifiable. For those of you who heard the story, I lost my absolute best friend on the planet November 12th. And so I was getting in the process of launching another business, and I was like, oh man, it took me out. It really took me out. Well, there are people who need exactly what I'm going through right now because they're going through similar processes. And so it's my job to truly go out and launch and help touch those individuals, because I am in a space and in a place where I can truly help them right now versus pushing back. And again, I justified it. I completely justified it. And she said, she asked, was it in my head or my heart? Is it in your head or your heart? And so, again, we have to ask that question of ourselves. Is this distraction in my head or is it in my heart? If it's in your heart, sometimes you do need, okay, justifiably so, you need to take a second. But if it's in your head,
take a breather.
Wow.
Yeah. So on that point, kind of piggyback off from what you and Nadira was saying. So what do you think, before we go to break here, like what do you think, or how do you feel, or what do you think fueled your focus? Because if you listen to you doing what you did, I'm just talking about at that moment in time, you had laser focus, right? So what do you think fueled that?
I had burned the ships, brother. I had not on purpose. I mean, I really wanted to keep that ship around.
You playing with matches or something?
Yeah, I was playing with matches, man. Burned that torch it right on up. But I intentionally tried to set my company up where I could continue working with the person that I came from. And 1 week after I had a conversation, everything was wonderful. We were going to work together. Everything is beautiful. He cut me off. And that was it. And so I really didn't have a choice. Do I recommend that for people? No. But sometimes we need to put ourselves in positions, because some of us, as long as we have something to fall back on, the monkeys are going to still be like, come on, let's go play. Let's go play. Let's go play. And we can justify that. So, I did burn the boats, but at the same time, it was something that I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I could do. I helped to build his company to thousands upon thousands of dollars. And so I'd done it before, and I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I could do it again. This time, though, the difference was I was doing it for me and my family versus him and his family. That's hard. That's hard, because we are very quick to build for other people and do for other people what we won't do for ourselves. And that's why it's vitally important for us to have someone in our corner, to surround ourselves with the right people. The right people will help you every time. You can't have someone around you who, sometimes this is going to hurt somebody. But some of us spend time with individuals who are attracted to the old us. We're trying to do amazing things, and we know we can do amazing things, but you can't be around the same people if you're trying to do different. They can't help you get there. You can't call your broke cousin up and say, hey man, what do you think about this $1 million idea? They'll talk you out of it every single time. Right? So you have to make sure you're extremely, extremely, extremely intentional on the individuals you spend your time with. I say I have a coach. I have multiple people that I rely on. There's another mentor he's amazing, absolutely amazing gentleman. And I call him a lot. And I call him a lot because he met me when I was in the valley. Down deep in the valley. And he called me one day and just said, hey man, listen, I hear you. I know, I hear what you're going through. Do not quit. And so when I'm getting ready to quit, if I pick up the phone, I can pick up the phone and call my buddy who'll be like, hey man, let's go get a beer and talk about it. Or I can pick up the phone and call my mentor, right? So now I have a choice of which phone call I'm going to make. Am I going to call the beer buddy, or am I going to call the mentor? And so I just made a conscious choice to constantly call my mentor. And sometimes I didn't want to. Sometimes I really wanted to call that buddy. It's like, man, I want to just go out and chill and get towed back. Right? But calling the mentor, he was like, hey man, listen, don't quit. I've been there. If a little country boy from Alabama can do it, a little country boy from South Carolina can do it. Go get it. Go get it. And you have to have the right voice in your ear.
Right.
Yeah. Amen.
Because there are so many individuals that will try to take you back to where you were. So you have to be the laser focus. It sounds amazing. And just if I'm on the other side looking at Eric Keese story, I'm like, oh my gosh, this dude is Superman. No, I'm not. I'm just like anybody else, man. You do what you have to do to get through what you have to get through, and that's it. But you have to, as long as you put yourself in the right position to be able to thrive and to grow, you can't help but to grow. If you put yourself in the field and you're planted, you can't help but grow. You can't help but grow. It's unfavorable conditions. It's uncomfortable. Again, a farm reference. If you look at a seed, it looks to be in a deadened state. You take that deadened state seed, you put it in the ground, you drown it with water, then you cover it up. So now it's buried alive, it's drowned. It looks crazy, like it's in the worst condition ever. But that's the only favorable condition it can be in for it to grow properly. It has to be in an uncomfortable situation in order for it to grow. Some of us don't want to get uncomfortable, but you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable all the time, because just like the seasons, so is life. Once you hit a certain level, it's going to be amazing. You're going to feed people off of it. You're going to touch people. They're going to eat really, really good. But then guess what? Everything's going to die off. And then you have to go back and retill the ground and go through that whole process again. Everything, life has seasons. And again, now that I'm embracing the concept of the farm, perseverance doesn't seem so hard. Perseverance is nothing more than a process.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Perseverance is nothing more than a process. I hope you guys are taking notes this evening. Well, we're about to go to a little commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to get a little bit deeper, right? We're going to get a little bit deeper. and we're going to talk about why is it so hard to grow and build wealth for ourselves after we've overcame these distractions.
Mm.
Love it.
Stay tuned. Right after the break, we'll be right back. Look at me.
Why you be all on my line about nothing? Why won't you go get you $1 or something? $1 or something. Get you $1 or something. Something. Why you be all on my line about nothing? Why won't you go get you $1 or something? $1 or something. Get you $1 or something. Something. Why you be all on my line about nothing? Why won't you go get you $1 or something? $1 or something. Get you $1 or something. Something. Why you be all on my line about nothing? Why won't you go get you $1 or something? $1 or something. $1 or something, $1 or something, something. Why you be all on my line about nothing? Why won't you go get you $1 or something, $1 or something? Get you $1.
All right, and we are back here with Dinner with the Coaches with our special guest, Eric Keese. And if you guys have missed the first half, you have missed a treat. Make sure you go back and watch the replay. And when you do, make sure you hit #replay. We would love to hear your comments and your responses to what Eric Keese has mentioned and talked about in regards to distractions. So, Thomas, you want to take us into the second half?
Yeah. We're gonna get a little bit deeper now. That was the first phase. So in our generation, because a lot of us are first-time generations for businesses and things of that nature, right? So I want to talk about wealth versus riches, right? Because when you talk about wealth, now we're talking about legacy, right? So Eric, based upon your experience, why do you think sometimes it's hard to grow and build wealth after all the things that we actually had to overcome just to get to this point? What are your sentiments about that, Eric?
It really boils down to just a simple phrase. We don't value ourselves.
Okay.
So, part of the speech that I give talks about the farm, and it's, the 4 P's. Prepare, plant, process, and produce. And so what we're talking about now is produce. You look at the farm, you go through all of this hard work, cleaning the land, doing all of this stuff, tilling the soil, going through the process, getting mess thrown on you. And finally, you are a finished crop, if you will. The true value comes in that crop when you understand that it's produce to be sold, it's goods and services to be sold to other individuals. And that's the really, really tough part, because a lot of us who are first generational business owners grew up under the auspice of money doesn't grow on trees. Don't you touch nothing when you go in this store. I ain't buying this for you. Who do you think you are? You think you rich? You think you better than other people? All of that was our foundation. So now you got to bust up that foundation to understand that you are valuable and you are worthy of receiving compensation and building wealth and leaving a legacy for yourself as well as your family. And that's so difficult to get past that level unless you truly work on yourself. You have to, you must, you're going to invest one of two ways. You're either going to invest time, sweat equity, or monetary equity, or both. But you're going to invest. You're going to invest. Period. Point blank. The end. You will invest. You will invest. Now you have to figure out, are you worth the investment? And a lot of people see it as a cost versus an investment, right? So if it's a cost to you, you really need to reevaluate where you are in your life versus investing in yourself, because you are worth it. Your dreams and goals and aspirations are worthy, and distractions are dreams deferred. So if you allow those distractions to and that is a distraction. That's one of the distractions. You know, the monkeys will say to you, "Man, you're not worth this. Come on, let's go over here and Netflix and chill for a second."
Yeah, right.
So it's really hard to understand our value and our worth, but we have to grow into that. We must grow into that so that we can understand that we have been pruned and groomed to give something to the world and leave a legacy for the world. A lot of times we don't get to that point.
And that's a good point. And I got two takeaways from that, because what you're talking about is a mindset shift, right?
Absolutely.
We have to be okay with thinking different. We have to be okay with reading different books that maybe, you know, either our ancestors or people around us have not read, right? Then you talk about investment, right? Versus cost. And I think sometimes people don't understand that aspect when it comes to themselves, because they attribute investment to money, right? So in an investment, what is the key thing? Is your ROI, right? Return on investment. But when you invest in yourself, you determine that ROI versus giving Merrill Lynch or Fidelity your money and then them telling you what your ROI is going to be. And or, hey, you're into real estate, investing in real estate, right? Already calculating before the deal is even signed, already calculating your ROI.
Yep.
So the mindset shift from investment is now we are that commodity. And the ROI is unlimited.
Listen.
Speak on that, Eric. Speak on that.
Man, listen, man. My coach, who's phenomenal. She's absolutely phenomenal. She shared with me, one of her success stories. And a young man invested in himself, got her as his coach. 18 months after they started working together, he's a millionaire. What's the return on that investment? Now he knows how to become a millionaire. Because he knows how to become a millionaire. How many more millions can he make? And that was him learning how to work and move and shake in the first 18 months. What do you think is going to happen to him? The next 18 months. It's absolutely unlimited. It's Warren Buffett says the absolute best. Warren Buffett, the dude who's known for being the best investor on the planet, says the best investment you can make is in yourself.
Yeah.
And once you grow past who you were, it's unlimited. And listen, I'll tell the story. I think it was 2014 or 15. I'm on the phone. It's a group of men on the phone. And these group of guys, we're talking. It's a small group. We're talking. And one of the guys on the phone says, this is why it's so important to have people who can see you for who you are around you versus you hanging with the boys or the crew. One of the guys on the phone says in the group, in front of everybody, man, Eric is like the cowardly lion. He has so much potential. He's such a monster. But he's like the cowardly lion. He has no clue who he truly is, and he's scared to step out.
Wow.
And that touched me to my core. And here live publicly, I want to say thank you, Thomas Taylor III.
Just like Thomas.
Wow. But he said that to me, man, and it sparked something inside of me. Like, who is this dude? First and foremost, I got mad. I'm not, who is this dude? This little short behind me. Like I don't care if you're from New York or not. We're gonna have to get dirty. We're gonna have to tussle. I'm gonna put my play clothes on, right? But he spoke that into me, right? Y'all listen, you need someone that can speak that into you. Someone must be able to speak that into you, speak fire into you. Sometimes somebody, man, you need people around you who are going to challenge you and don't allow you to be mediocre. Nick Saban, I saw a quote from Nick Saban the other day. He said, high achievers don't want to be around mediocre people, and mediocre people don't want to be around high achievers.
Yeah. Amen.
Which one are you? Do you want to continue to be mediocre? Do you want to be a high achiever? You have to decide. You have to make a decision. Everything starts with that decision. And the decision comes truly from the question at hand. Do you think you're worth it?
Yeah.
The answer is you are. But you have to decide that. No one can decide it for you. No one can decide that for you. You have to make that decision for yourself.
That value is important, and I spoke those words to you, my brother, because Nadira, I've been in plenty different arenas with Eric because we've been to different, we was a part of Steve Harvey's mentoring program, AT&T's mentoring program, and I watched when Eric walks in the room how people not only part. But how they almost get frozen just by his appearance. Like the man hasn't even opened his mouth yet, just by his appearance. But I realized when him and I speak, because we go all the way deep, he didn't see himself like I saw people looking at him. And I said, ooh, just think about it. If one day he can actually meet the Wiz and realize he already had the courage. Just nobody told him, like nobody challenged him in that area because people around him may have just been intimidated for whatever reason, right? But I spoke those words to stretch him and challenge him, because when you understand, at the end of the Wizard of Oz, at the end, the Wiz wasn't who they thought he was. So it was the belief in themselves. Yep. And I just said that to him, like, if he can believe that he can, because he's already doing it. Like, it's not a whole lot that he has to change because he's that individual already. He just don't see it. He just don't know it yet. So having the right people around you is key. Go ahead.
I have to speak to that point too, because this is really going to touch somebody, right? So growing up, I had the all of the stuff going against me and all the things, went to college and everything else. And I was like the golden child. Everything I touched turned to gold. And I was that lion in the past. But then I went through my valley season, right? And people don't understand the true importance of the valley. Like, I can touch so many more people now because I know what it feels like to be down, destitute, and completely, utterly broken. So I know what it's like to be in that place. And so there are people out here who have been to the mountaintop, and then they sunk down into the valley, and now they're in the valley and they have absolutely no clue. They can't see their way out. That's why it's so important right now that you find someone that can speak life into you. You need someone. Sometimes when you're down in that valley, in that in the muck and in the mud, you need something. You're in quicksand. That's just what it is. You're trying to reach and you're flailing, trying to grab any opportunity that comes along, anything that sounds good. You're trying to snatch it and grab it. And the only thing you're doing is moving around and sinking that much faster. So you have to have somebody who will throw you a lifeline. And sometimes that lifeline looks like, something you don't want to hear. You're the cowardly lion, Wake up. Wake up. Wake that lion up inside of you. Go roar. Go be the king. Go be the king of the jungle. You're already the king of the jungle. You just don't see it, right? You're like the jungle. What was it? The Lion King. You're playing around with meerkats and things like that. You're playing around with little animals that you're not, man. Go be who you were created to be. And somebody needs to hear that you are not the only person going through that valley. Like there are listen to me, any successful entrepreneur has a story that will break your heart. I mean, from homelessness to, just eating out of the dumpsters. My mentor actually rode around 285 and cried, literally a grown man just riding on 285 crying. You hear these stories and you're like, oh my gosh, how did they make it out of that? You hear my story and you're like, oh man, he's Superman. No, listen to me. All of us go through it, man. Every single person goes through it to get to it. But when you come out on the other side, the beautiful thing about it is who you are when you come out on the other side. I had a conversation with my brother, and he was talking about how he's like, man, there's no way I could be an entrepreneur. I'm scared. I'm petrified. I said, well, the difference between me and you is I used to be on your side. I was there. I didn't want to walk away from my job because it was stability, if you will. So, but what I understand now is, and this is going to touch somebody the wrong way, but it is what it is. Sometimes we need to hear these lifelines, right? Mm-hmm. What you need to be scared of, bro, is that your boss can walk in tomorrow and tell you you're fired. And you're in a position where you have no clue how to create for yourself. So now you're fired and you have more wisdom on you. I'm not going to sell his age, but you have more wisdom on you. And now you're scrambling, trying to figure out how to create for yourself when you've never had to create. I said, the difference between me and you now is, now that I'm on this side, my number one client can call me today and say, you're fired. And I'm like, okay, I go right back in there and, do what I'm doing because I know how to create for myself now. So now I can go and create and make up the difference of what my number one client was doing. And it, it's honestly, the difference is fear. Mm-hmm. Fear will put faith in a wheelchair. Fear will paralyze you. Fear has put more dreams in the graveyard than on the planet. I have a really good friend in the 80s. He was going to open a Chick-fil-A in South Carolina, in a rural part of South Carolina. They just opened a Chick-fil-A in that town 5 years ago. Where would he be if fear didn't stop him?
Wow. I think people forget that, and it's different in everybody's process. What people don't understand is something happens to you and through you in the process of when you're in that moment of trying to figure out which direction, why you're trying to get to where you need to be.
Yep. And
you may not always, it's good if you documenting and journaling helps you to remember the process, so that you can communicate it to other people. But sometimes some people journal and some people don't. But what happens is, and this is something I've learned in my own experience, is that when you get to a place where you're right where God wants you to be, right? It's like Thomas said, you don't have to, it's already there, right? Mm-hmm. And it's there because during the process, which is why we have to talk about the process, which is why we do what we do, because everybody, and I say it and I'm going to keep saying it 100 times, not many people tell you when they're in the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody wants to tell you when they get right? Yeah. Oh man, I'm doing this and I'm doing great and I'm doing this. But it doesn't help the 98.9999% that are in the process trying to figure out, well, how do I get through the process? How do I get through the distractions? How do I get through? Because I have all these distractions and I'm fumbling and I don't know which direction to go. So I'm walking around in circles trying to figure out how to get from this place of stagnancy where I'm at And the way we do that is we talk about our process, and everybody's process is different. And every process that we go through, whether it's male, female, black, white, whoever, helps somebody else in that same process, right? Help them be able to get through that. They don't have to go through the exact same things. They just have to be able to recognize that place.
Amen.
They just got to recognize that place of stagnancy. I was stagnant here. And because I was stagnant here, I remembered. And then as you remember, you're telling the story. You don't even realize that what happened to you in the process of going through that, your story is walking the next person through their process. And by the time you've done your story, they're like, I'm good. I got everything I need.
Yeah.
And you will never talk to them again. Right? They may never tell you, but they're listening. That's why you have to know your value. That's why you have to know what God has put on the inside of you, because if you don't, you will miss the key thing that kept you in the process and help walk you out. Amen. So I am big on that. Tell me the process, because you don't ever have to tell me that I helped you in the process. But one thing I do know is that as I'm sharing my story, right? As I'm going through what has happened to me, I know for a fact that it's going to help somebody else. And I may not never know till we get to heaven, but the process, you have to value who you are so you can value the process. Yep.
And I'll tell you, man, again, people is so important, y'all. It's so I can't say that enough. You have to, I prided myself when I was, mountaintop, corporate, all of the wonderful stuff. I prided myself on being the smartest guy in the room. Now I pride myself on being the biggest dummy in the room. I want to be the low man on the totem pole when it comes to experiences, knowledge. I always want to be in a room with individuals who have so much more than me so I can learn how to grow. One of the guys that I spent a lot of time around in my process used to share, and it's vitally important that you find people who are where you're trying to go and get around them. Spend time with them, listen, develop a relationship with them, because they're the ones that can say, hey man, you're not the only one. It's not just you. It's not, trust and believe it's not just you. When you have people who tell you, listen, man, everybody thought I had all of this wealth and money, and they thought I was, doing all of this amazing stuff, but I was digging in the back seat one day looking for change to be able to buy a $1 hamburger. Those are the stories that keep you going, because when you're in the same spot and you hear someone and you see someone who seems to have made it, if you will, they're in their abundance, their season of abundance, and they've been buried in the mud, you know that you're going to grow to that. But if you don't get around people who've been through that same type stuff, you just stay in the mud with everybody else. And that's so disappointing, because there's so many people who have so much to give. And that's exactly, honestly, that's exactly what I did with the coaching program. It is truly the documentation of me coming, excuse my language, I know we have I hope it's not a family show, but when you come through that absolute shitty situation, like when you're in that's where I started with this coaching program. I started with all the mess and the muck that each and every single one of us has. And that's our past. Our past is keeping us where we are right now. And then we step you through, how do you go from your past to identify who you are right now to your future? And that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and that's huge, and I Lord knows I wish we had more time. I guess we're gonna have to do a part 3, because we're coming at the top of the hour, boy. Because I did a Facebook Live this morning and I talked about goals and planning. You see, a lot of people make goals, but they don't develop a plan for that goal. And then they wonder why they didn't hit the goal. Well, the detail is in the plan. And I talked about from a family, personal, and business. And just to touch on what you're talking about with your brother, and I talked about, those who are in corporate America and want to make a transition. The best time to make the transition is when you're getting a paycheck.
Yep.
That's the best time, right? And I call it a 2 for 1. 2 for them, 1 for you. 3 for them, 2 for you. Build your business while you have that steady paycheck.
Yes, Lord. Y'all listen to this, brother, because I didn't.
For real.
Yeah, I talked about that this morning on my Facebook Live. I wish we had time to go into it. We'll have you back, and we'll do a little bit more of a deeper dive. But that's critical though. That's critical, right? Because it doesn't mean that one is per se better than the other. Is if you're comfortable in corporate America, then be comfortable in corporate America. If you want to make a transition, the best time to make a transition is when you're there. But some people jump and that's cool. Some people just cut, burn the shit and jump, and that's cool. There's different ways to do it. Yeah. Right? It's just not one way. It depends upon your situation, your circumstances, and responsibility. You know what I mean? So
Amen.
That's awesome, boy. Oh my goodness, we're at the top of the hour, Mr.
I'm gonna hit you with just another gem. So I've been talking about getting planted, right? How do you spell plant? It starts with a plan.
That's right, no question.
Wow.
PLNT.
In order for you to plant, you have to have a plan. Like even on the farm, like we had to have a plan when we were planting. We had to know where certain things needed to be planted. Like if you put beans and tomatoes on the west of corn, it's not going to survive because it needs that morning sunlight. So it's east to west. So you have to have a plan, and when you're planting your seeds, plan the plant. Man, I can come in here and get that speak, boy. Woo!
I didn't get that deep. I just stayed on the surface. We could go deeper next time. but just think about how many people don't understand that philosophy, that ideology. They just don't, right? We hear SMART goals, write your goals down, right? But that plan is just important because I use the analogy of a sailboat. So if you're out in a Keese somewhere, you're trying to get to a different island, the plan is to go to another island in Key West. But based upon how you set the sail, will plan and determine if you get there.
Yeah.
If you don't set the sail properly, you're not going to make it. Yeah. Well, it's not the goal or the destination. It's the details in the plan that help us get there. And I talked about, I start from the end and I work my way backwards. I start with the end in mind. What does December look like? I know it's January. Where do I want to be in December? Okay, cool. So then I have to make necessary steps in November, October, September, right? Oh, February's coming up. Okay, I need to be doing this in February to be here in December.
Yeah.
I think that I think when I think about this movie, and I've watched this movie so many times, and I'm gonna go back and watch it again. Coming to America 2. And I think that movie is so instrumental to me because when I forgot what his name is, the guy that was the son of the king was living in Brooklyn or Harlem or whatever, Queens, and he's living there and he's already developing these skills, right? Not realizing he's probably thinking, it's no big deal. I'm working and I'm working here and I'm working here, and he's have all these, he's cultivating all these skills, right? In the background, right? Thinking that, and that's how we are. We work different places, we interact in different things, and we think, it's nothing. It ain't nothing. And we think that when we come into entrepreneurship, we're gonna have this big wow feature, not realizing that your entrepreneurial skills is going to be cultivated and be operated by the skills that you've been using back on the back end, right? So when I was watching when he got to Zamunda and they was all laughing, it was funny, but it was real life. Like, to me, I was like, wow, this is deep, guy, because he was like, you got to giving him these little bitty scissors to take off the hairs off the lion. And
the whiskers.
He's thinking like, wait a minute, like I ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna be able to do it, you know. And he's like, and it's funny because he had his sisters laughing like, yeah, he gonna die. You know, they like, yeah, he gonna die. And that's how it is. Sometimes when we're reaching for things and we be put in position to do things outside of the box, you got people that are there like, yeah, she ain't gonna make it. No,
yeah.
I know, because they, like you said, they know the external you, right? The old you. They don't know the fortitude and the things that are built on the inside. That's why I say pay attention to the things that are going on inside of you, right? As you're elevating, as you're growing, pay attention to who you become on the way to where you're going, because you don't realize, because what happened when he had that one conversation with her and he kept thinking, how am I going to do this, right? And how he had to be reminded, right, of his skill set. He had to be reminded of his gift, the things that he was able to do, and he was able to cultivate a plan to do exactly what he was supposed to do. And I sat there and I said, I could watch this like all day long, because he didn't have to go, and he took what was on the inside of him and figured out how to operate it where he is. We have to appreciate and learn how, and this is for everybody who's out there who feel like I'm not where I need to be, or who feel like I see myself here, but I'm actually right here. I want to be here, but I don't know how to get there. I got all this stuff over here going on. You have to take value and really appreciate the things that's happening on the inside of you as you're going. And I know it's at the top of the hour, but I feel like I got to tell a story.
Please do. Please do.
In 2009 to be exact, right? I was a single mom, right? With 4 kids. And here I am, a natural born entrepreneur, right? And it's funny because I thought about what you said when you were saying, you'd be like, dang, you disappointed. You'd be like, dang, there's no way in the world I should have no money. Like, I got all this. And so I'm sitting here and I'm living in the hood, right? And I had to downsize because I was running a mentoring program, right? I still had to be who I was. It's like I couldn't get away from that. It's like, you know, I wanted to be frustrated, but I didn't have time to be frustrated because destiny and things were pushing me. Yeah. So I didn't really have a whole lot of time to get discouraged. I wanted to. When make appointments to be discouraged, I would get discouraged in between doing duties and stuff like that. But I had to keep going. And one day I said to myself, I said, gosh, I can't do this. I can't be who I see that I'm supposed to be. I can't be it. I have all these roadblocks, right? So I was sitting there and God showed me. It's funny because the vision has not changed. Went through different, I've amplified and went through different scenarios, but I'm still that same person. I had to be who I was in the midst of the most devastating, crappiest position that I was in. I had to still be who I was and give of all the deposits that was put on the inside of me. And it was the most humiliating time. I ain't had no food to feed my kids. I had to go to CC's Pizza because my daughter worked there. Right. So that was the way we eat. And it was funny because I was paying attention to what God was doing, because even though it was hard and I was running out of food and I was running out of money, I had a skincare and cosmetic line that was feeding us right through the process. And guess what? That product, I had to tell my story. Right. I had to tell my story as I was going through it. And as I was going through it, it's like I was looking like Moses going up the thing and seeing the ram of the bush coming up as I'm going. And I felt like as I was doing what I knew that I was capable of doing, I could see the provisions coming up on the side of me. Right. And so I started to think to myself, I said, oh my gosh, how am I gonna do this? But I was paying attention to what was going on, and me learning how to pay attention. I learned how to follow God in every area of my life. I learned how to listen and I've learned how to watch, because I wasn't always able to describe all the things that was happening on the inside of me. And I was like that boy in Harlem saying, how in the world am I going to do this? And I come from here. You don't know what I come from. You don't know what I had to deal with, what I've had to face, what I'm up against. You have no idea. Right. But at the same time, there's nobody around to listen to me rant about. There's nobody around to listen. The only people that were there is there to receive. The people that needed it was like all the people that I wanted to rant to and say, I'm sick of this. I don't want to do this. Nobody was around for that. but only people that were around. So I was forced to become the person that God wanted me to be. I was forced because it was sink or swim. It was sink or swim. Either you become who he wants you to be, or you die trying. You just be another person with full of potential and go in the grave.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
man,
Lyra, thank
awesome.
you so much for sharing that, man. That's so awesome. That's so awesome. And I know that truly touched someone's life because I wholeheartedly remember sitting in that theater or that conference room or wherever. Typically, people who join these type podcasts, they've sat in a room of motivational speakers, and I just remember sitting in those rooms thinking, God, I'm broke as a joke. How do I get to that level? How do I get to this? How I can't even see how to feed me right now, let alone my kids and my wife. And you know, how will I get to that place? But as long as you keep the vision and you keep moving, man, it's a law. It's just like the law of gravity, y'all. It's not happenstance. It's not like, oh man, maybe, sort of, kind of. If you trust and believe, you shall receive. Period. It's a law. It has to happen for you. Now, does it happen in your timing? No. Absolutely not. It does not happen in your timing, but it must happen. You know, Robert Kiyosaki talks about his journey was 20 years long. I talked about another young man earlier today that his journey was 18 months. My journey has been, I've been on this journey for 10 years. Golly, 10 years now. You know what I mean? So again, man, 10 years I've been on this journey, and I'm starting to finally see it kind of turn a corner. But now, because of my 10-year journey, I've condensed it down into an 8-week journey for people who really truly want to be able to get there. You see what I'm saying? So my 10 years are your 8 weeks if you're willing to invest in yourself.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're a little bit past the top of the hour, but we had to get to those stories because they had to be told. They had to be told. You don't want to stop greatness. You want to let it go all the way through. Amen. Well, Eric, we're gonna give you the last word so you can tell people how to get in contact with you, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. So all my contact information is right there. You see the website, scroll down. That is actually the coaching program. I am looking to coach, 10 to 15 people. So it is an online coaching platform, but I am looking for 15 high quality people that really, really, really are looking to change their lives in 2022. If you're looking to truly change your life in 2022, this is it. Let's go get it together. I personally am going to coach it live. You will also have access to my coach, which is you don't understand the value that is tied up in this program, y'all. When you look at the price, it's going to give you some sticker shock. It is $1,995 for a one-time payment. But understand, you have my 10 years, but you also have my coach's 40 years of coaching experience. And she's the money guru. So you have all of that experience, all the monies that both of us have invested in ourselves. All of that, we're pouring it out to individuals who truly, truly are looking to change their lives. And I know some people are saying, oh man, here we go again. It's an overpriced thing that I can't get to. Again, if you see it as a cost versus a value, it's not for you right now. But you must invest in yourself and understand who you are and whose you are. Man, listen, if someone told me 10 years ago I could pay $2,000 not to go through the mess that I went through, trust and believe, man, I would have figured out a way to make that happen for sure.
Awesome. Well, you heard it from himself, man. I mean, he's a gentle giant. He's out there crushing it in the industry, you guys. You only heard a small portion of his story. He's doing a lot of phenomenal things in the industry, man. Appreciate you spending time with us.
Appreciate the invite. Listen, you all, on February the 17th, I will be doing a speaking engagement in Covington, Georgia. Covington, Georgia is myself. I'm billed as the real estate guy. I'm telling you, my stuff is geared towards real estate agents, but it really is for everybody. It's truly about changing your mind and taking you from the mud to your future, to who you are. And so that's February 17th as I get details, I will share it with you all. And that is a free event. So we encourage everyone who's in the area to truly come out and take part in that event. I'm sharing the stage with a couple of other coaches who are absolutely phenomenal. I mean, he's featured on US Weekly, man, best-selling books, all of that. So
awesome. Well, we appreciate you guys spending time with us. We did dinner with the coaches this evening with our phenomenal guest, Mr. Eric Keese.
Thank you so much again. Appreciate it. Take care, everybody.
I want you to remember that God's created everything you see. He breathed it into existence. You remember when his people were caught up in slavery? He rescued them. What he did was he parted the sea and he made a way for them, and then he delivered their enemies to them, and he unlocks wombs, and he provides water from a rock, and he provides manna from heaven, and he brought down the walls of Jericho. He froze the sun, allowing victory. He's toppled giants with tiny stones. He's brought fire from heaven. He's shut the mouths of lions. He preserved life in the belly of a well. He's fed thousands with a few loaves. He gives the weak strength. He heals the sick. He's made the blind see, the deaf hear, the mute speak, the lame walk, and he's overcome evil, and he's made a way through death for you and me by the death and the resurrection of his son, Jesus Christ, that we will live with him forever. We will dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever and ever and ever. What are we afraid of? His resume is flawless. He controls everything. And he loves you.